Hello everyone. Today we are going to be discussing post-quantum cryptography and its future. Today I'm honored to be hosting our guest, Raymond, who is a prestiged researcher at CSIRO, who has created multiple papers regarding post-quantum cryptography, improvements on side channel resistance and improving its performance. Today we will be discussing why post-quantum cryptography matters in today's world, as AI and quantum computers continue to advance, continue to increase the threats to our current cybersecurity systems. We'll be going over multiple areas, including the basics of post-quantum cryptography and quantum computers, quantum secure hardware and infrastructure, and more. Before we begin the chat, anything you wanted to say, Raymond?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy to be here today. Yes, thank you for the invitation.
Of course. I'm looking forward to hearing your insights about post-quantum cryptography, about the future of quantum computing in general, just hearing overall your insights. Let's begin first of all with the basics of post-quantum cryptography and quantum computing, because there's a high chance that a lot of the viewers will not even know what's exactly quantum computers and cybersecurity and how do they exactly intersect. So maybe you can begin with a brief explanation about what quantum computers are and how do they relate to quantum cryptography.
Yeah, sure. So basically, for classical computer, they usually work with like bits like 0 and 1s. But if you have a quantum computer which is based on quantum physics, they will work on like superpositions. So basically, it is like more like a vector. Yeah, it is like a vector. So yeah, with this kind of superpositions, then you will have some more efficient algorithms to solve some problems that will be very difficult to compute on the classical computers. And actually, breaking cryptography is one of the good examples, because in 1995, one of the professor Peter Shor has developed some quantum algorithms which can break the factorization problem of big integers. And this problem is actually the basis of one of the very commonly used crypto system called ISA. So basically, if you can run this Schwarz algorithm on a quantum computer, then pretty much for example, your network communications nowadays will all become broken.
So when you say superposition, like the computers can be 1 and 0s at the same time and then get observed, until they get observed, then they collapse into 1 or 0 or somewhere in between, is that right? So how does that make them stronger than a classical computer anyways? Why does it allow them to actually break the current encryption system?
To be honest, because I'm not an expert in physics, so I don't know yet too much about the details, but we have this kind of algorithm exist, right? Basically, and it can only be run on quantum computers.
So basically, it just allows different algorithms that might break RSA. Like from my understanding, basically an algorithm is a way for a computer to avoid brute forcing something. That's right. So
yeah, because you are not running like brute force to ISA. Even like for example, on classical computers, you have some kind of factorization algorithm which should be take less time compared to brute force. But still, it is like will run and in the exponential time, basically 2 to the power of something. But however, on quantum computers, this kind of algorithm can run in polynomial time, which is only like, for example, square or something, right? So basically, only like instead of problem, basically, for example, how many bits you need to break for the ISA, instead of like 2 to the power of something, now you only have maybe something square, right? So
from my understanding,
it's much less time, basically much faster.
Yeah, from my understanding, Shor's algorithm is around, not exactly, it's a lot longer formula, but it's around log 3 of n. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it is like polynomial time. I don't remember like the exact time complexity, but it should be like polynomial time. Like maybe it has some kind of, or maybe if it is log, then it will be like even faster than what I mentioned on square, because it's just basically like quasi-linear, then it will be even faster.
Yeah. So basically, it's not that quantum computers are omnipotent. It's not like they can break everything, but it's just that they introduced a new set of algorithms, that one of which is able to break RSA, because it can calculate prime factors in, as you mentioned, polynomial time or log3n time. In either case, much faster than a classical computer.
Yes.
That's right? Yes. Well, so now that we cleared that out of the way, how far are quantum computers from today? Some people say 15 years, some people say 10 years, some people say even like 5 years. How far do you think, like based on recent events, upcoming events, like what's your timeline?
I would expect that like some country may develop a quantum computer that capable of breaking, for example, RSA maybe in 2030. That's my expectation, because you can see like a few weeks ago, like China developed some new quantum computer which can like compute like 50 bits RSA. Right, although 50 bits, you might think, okay, so I can run like this on classic computer within 1 second, right, to solve this kind of problem. But you can see, right, we are become closer and closer to get a quantum computer that's capable of breaking like the actual RSA, like 2048. Right, we are getting more and more closer, and there are some estimations on like how long it will take for a quantum computer to break RSA, and actually, or maybe like elliptic curve, because for breaking elliptic curve, which is another kind of problem that can be broken by a quantum computer, it will take even less time than RSA. Like for example, if you want to break elliptic curve, then with like a 2000 2-bit quantum computer, it will only take a few hours to break elliptic curve, like 128-bit elliptic curve.
I'm sorry, how many bits did you mention? Qubits would be needed?
About 2000 bits.
2000?
Yes, but we have like with the recent quantum Google Vero quantum computer, it has like about 100 qubits, right? You can see we are getting closer and closer, right?
I mean, I think IBM has over 1,000. It's just that they have a lot of errors yet. But with Google's breakthrough, it seems we're getting closer with fixing the error issues with the noise. So basically, while Google is improving with the quality of the qubits, IBM is improving with the quantity of the qubits. Once they actually can work out their differences and then they kind of conquer each other's areas, we are not very far at all.
Yes.
And I agree with you that a lot of people have been telling me, so what if the Chinese university broke RSA 50? Your fridge can do it, your iPhone can do it very, very quickly. The thing is, it means that it's no longer a theory, because quantum computers breaking Shor's algorithm was a theory. Like, we didn't know if it's actually going to happen, we are just saying like mathematically it works out. This university has proven that it can actually happen, just on a smaller scale. So that's how it goes. First it's mathematically proven, then it's computationally proven on a smaller scale, and then it's gonna be just a matter of making a better quantum computer. So I think I completely agree. Before 2030, it's the very, very most. The faster we prepare, the better. And that's not even starting with harvest now, decrypt later, I assume. So maybe you can tell me a bit more about this. Let's say it is 2030. We both agree it's probably going to be around 2030, maybe 2029, maybe 2031, but around that time. Should we care now? It's still 5 years from now, maybe 3 years from now max. Why shouldn't I be preparing when the US government says, okay, it's going to happen next year?
Sure. Because for like you mentioned, right, you have now the decrypt later attack. So basically, although like now we don't have a quantum computer that's capable of breaking, say, RSA, however, the adversary may just crack your ciphertext then they can store it then until like 2030. Then they can try to run a quantum algorithm or a quantum computer to try to break it, right? So then you may think about, okay, this doesn't matter, right? But however, like for some secret, they need to be like keep secret for a long time, right? Like 20 years or even like 30 years or even longer, right? This is one problem. The other thing is like we haven't yet mentioned like digital signature. Basically, for digital signature, that's another kind of algorithm that we will use like RSA or elliptic curve. Basically, if you need to do authentication, then you need to use digital signatures every time. Then for this kind of digital signature, you usually need to have a certificate, basically for your credential. Then basically for this kind of certificate, some of the signing keys for this kind of certificate, they also need to be kept like a long time. But like for example, you may have this kind of root certificate for CIAs, right? Then their signing key also need to be like kept like 20 years or 30 years lifetime. That also need to be a long time. And also like for your credential, then also like for example, for your bank account, or like if you have cryptocurrencies, which we may talk about this later, right? Then they also may need to be kept safe for a longer time, right?
That's actually an interesting thread that you brought up about digital signatures. That's something that people don't generally think about. First of all, what exactly are like digital signatures? We use the same algorithms for them. You mentioned authentication and cryptocurrency. Those technologies, they use digital signatures, and why do they need to stay safe for longer if like the sessions don't last? I mean, I'm not staying connected and logged in until 2030. Usually the session gets nullified after 15 minutes. For those sessions, does it matter? Or is it mainly for certifications that need to last longer?
Basically, that's basically to prove who you are, right? Basically, authentication is basically to prove who you are, right? Like, for example, when you log into a bank account, then you need to tell, for example, the bank, okay, I'm Raymond, right? So then, however, the problem is with your quantum computer, basically the attacker can forge your signature. So basically, they can pretend to be you, right? For example, then if the attacker can, for example, forge your signature of mine, then the attacker may just basically create a signature by using a quantum computer. Then try to tell the bank, okay, I'm Raymond. Then basically they can just try to like steal money from me, right? And this is the same for cryptocurrencies, right? Because for cryptocurrencies, basically for the transactions, they basically they are basically like signed they are protected by digital signatures, right? Then basically if the attacker can forge your signature, then basically the attacker can just spend your cryptocurrency, right? Literally can spend your cryptocurrency.
Oh, so basically, the only way to actually, it sounds like basically you if we don't wait, then people will be able to fake people's identity, login sessions, and even cryptocurrency. They'll be able to say, okay, this cryptocurrency is now mine, which basically beats the entirety of the entire point of cryptocurrency. Is there a way to, I mean, let's say it got harvested now, this signature key. Is there a way to actually mitigate that? Like, how do we stop then, like 10 years from now, someone taking a signature that got harvested now to prevent them from stealing people's login session with cryptocurrency?
Because, like for some cryptocurrency, they usually have this kind of fork, like this actually happened with some like Ethereum or something like, I remember they have like this kind of different versions, right? So pretty much you need to make sure that you use quantum safe signatures from now, and then you need to do the migration, right? Basically, you need to maybe create a fork of your blockchain, right?
Do you need to nullify all the pre-quantum digital signatures? Do you basically need to say, okay, they are no longer valid, basically as soon as possible, like once you finish the migration? Because from the sound of it, if you stay at a pre-quantum digital signature, then if you keep it valid, then people will be able to harvest the signature, and then later down the line, even after the migration to post-quantum, just say, okay, now it's me, and if you validate that signature, you can still steal someone's session. So after the migration, we'll need to retroactively nullify all the pre-quantum digital signatures? Or is there a way to migrate those signatures to post-quantum somehow?
I don't know if there's like any easier way to do the migration, right? Because like for blockchain, like you can maybe just create a fork, like you have a newer version, then just say, okay, we don't use the old version anymore. Although people may still continue to use them if they want. And for all the other certificate, pretty much they need to like replace the certificate, right? Like, because actually, right, for every website using TLS, they need to update their certificate like every few months, right? So that actually will be probably easier, right?
Well, yeah, the whole TLS thing kind of scares me, because from my understanding, a lot of people didn't even upgrade to 1.3 version yet, which apparently is highly recommended. So basically TLS, just for the audience, I've been releasing new versions of TLS. There was first 1.1, then we needed to migrate to 1.2, and now we need to migrate to, well, we have been recommended to migrate to 1.3 for a while. A lot of people still haven't done that for compatibility reasons. And this is all before the whole quantum thing has even come to like people's minds. So we'll see where that goes, I guess.
Yeah, actually what you mentioned is pretty true, because my company just sent an email a few days ago that telling us that finally we stopped using TLS 1.1.
Okay.
Right? So TLS 1.1, they have like lots of vulnerabilities compared to the newer versions. So yeah, finally my company stopped using TLS 1.1.
Well, that's something to consider. Everyone is saying, like a lot of people are saying, well, I'm just going to wait for the big companies, for the TLS companies, for the cybersecurity providers to migrate for me, so I don't need to do anything. But is that really true? Considering a lot of people are still on TLS 1.1, can you continue waiting for other people to do the job? Like, at the end of the day, I feel like this is going to take more, well, I won't say individual, because individuals can't do much, sadly, but like, it's going to take more actions from the smaller providers than they would like to do, because this whole thing is very slow. The whole migration is very slow and complex, and a lot of people are going to be late for the game. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, because if we're not prepared enough, we're basically facing a disaster. But in either case, you need to prepare yourself no matter who you are. And I guess from there we can move on to actually talking about the solution, or our attempted solution, how we adapt to the situation. Post-quantum cryptography, as the name implies, post, after, so cryptography that's after quantum, aka encryption that quantum computers are supposedly unable to break. Maybe, Raymond, you can tell me a bit more about the latest post-quantum cryptography development. How do they exactly solve this quantum threat? Like, how do we even know they're safe from quantum computers compared to RSA? And like, has there been any interesting developments lately in that space?
Sure. So basically, I think for post-quantum cryptography, basically they are based on different mathematical assumptions compared to like RSA or zip curve. Basically, they based on different mathematical assumptions, like for example, the lattice problem or code problem, right? So basically, for this kind of lattice problem, it's based on the geometric properties of some high dimensional lattices, right? And for the code problem, this is based on like the hardness of the decoding problem, right? And also like you have other kind of PDOCs like hash-based ones, which is totally based on symmetric key algorithm, which is not broken by quantum computers, right? So basically, all of these different mathematical assumptions, they are at least for now, they don't have like any kind of efficient. By efficient, I mean polynomial time algorithm on quantum computers. So that's why they are quantum safe, at least for now. And yeah, for the latest development, so basically I think NIST has just announced like a few standard, right, like a few months ago. So basically they have like MLKM for key agreement, and they have like MLDSA for digital signature, and also like SLH DSA also for digital signature, but based on a different harness problem.
So you mentioned lattices, you mentioned code-based, and then you mentioned RSA. What's the difference like between lattice? What exactly are lattices? How are they different from RSA? Are they more complex? Or are they just different type of math, or both?
Actually, I think they are just a different kind of mathematical hard problems, right? Because for example, for RSA, that depends on like if you have two very big prime numbers, then you multiply them together. Then like for example, assuming each of them are about 1,000 bits, right? Then if you multiply them together, then you become like 2,000 bits. And then for this kind of 2,000 big integers, it is pretty hard to factorize it on the classical computers.
You're describing RSA from my understanding.
Yeah, this is RSA, right? So however, this kind of problem can be easily solved on quantum computers by using short algorithms. For lattice problem, that's something different. Basically, for what is lattice? Basically, lattice is like, for example, if you may know like how to present space, right? Like for example, for two-dimensional space, you have x and y axis. Then you have like basis vector like 0, 1, 1, 0. Then basically you use a linear combination of your basis vectors. Then you can basically define all the points in this space. Then basically for lattice, that's basically similar, but you only use like an integer linear combination. So the coefficient basically times with all the coefficients, they are integers. Then if the dimension is high, then it is very difficult to find the short vector within the lattice. If you only have like a random basis, only know a random basis, then it is difficult to find a short vector in this lattice. So basically, that's basically how the harness of the lattice problem is defined. So like even with your quantum computer, it is very difficult to find a short vector in this kind of high dimensional lattices. So basically, this is like a different mathematical hard problem. However, actually for the construction of the crypto system, if you know like the algebra crypto system, then basically it is very similar to Kyber. You just replace the discrete log with like this kind of linear algebra with like matrix vector multiplications. Then you get Kyber, which is basically MLKM.
So basically, what you're saying basically is RSA relies on prime numbers factorization, like the difficulty of prime number factorization. If you to give me a big number and you ask me to guess what smaller numbers make it up, especially we're talking about 48 bits, which is a very big number. How do we, like, there are so many possibilities for the smaller numbers. There is just no way to really calculate, at least until quantum computers now here, they can calculate those prime numbers faster. And you mentioned lattices, vectors. Basically, it's linear algebra instead of prime numbers. That's what I'm getting here?
Yes.
We'll not go into too many details because people who know already know, and the people who don't know, they probably don't want to know. But it's if it's not more complicated, and you mentioned for now yourself, is it possible that quantum computers will be able to break those algorithms too?
So actually, it is a possibility, right? Because actually, this already happened within the P2C competition. Like for example, for some like Rojani-based crypto that was broken like in the very late stage of the P2C competition, basically after the round 3 evaluation. And another digital signature called Rainbow, which some of the parameters are also broken. So and because actually one of the cryptocurrency they already adopted called ABC Mint, they already adopted this rainbow signature, and actually because the that signature parameter set was broken, So some people actually they can fork the signature of the biggest wallet of that blockchain, right? Basically, you can see this kind of problem with the signature and blockchain cryptocurrency already happen. Although this happened to be simple to see, but just imagine that if you have a quantum computer that can fork or easy signature, then what will happen to a Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna just destroy the whole blockchain industry. I mean, if it can do it, if a quantum computer might be able to break that, then we are running into the same problem of harvesting out decrypt later, but with the new algorithms, aren't we? To some degree. So we are kind of just hoping that a quantum computer will not be able to break it in the upcoming time. But I guess that does then come back to the latest buzzword that the whole PQC promoters use, crypto agility, which is basically you need to get ready to change again. It's not a question, you gotta change ASAP, as we discussed, because we know for sure that RSA is vulnerable. So we don't think that MLChem, MLDSA, the winners that you mentioned, are vulnerable. That's our best bet for now. I mean, we can't use QKD or the quantum powered encryption yet, because quantum computers are not powerful enough yet. So we need something to rely on for the meanwhile. You mentioned Rainbow, is that the name of the algorithm you said?
Yes, that's one of the POC digital signature submitted to the NIST competition, and actually they went to round 3, then it found to be broken.
Well, they won until round 3, but did they actually win the competition like MLChem and MLDSA?
No, because they found this will be in round 3, so they didn't enter the final stage.
Well, then I guess to some degree, it was kind of guesswork beforehand. Before there was a winner, it didn't go through the same thorough testing that MLChem or Kyber, now MLChem, has gone through, or MLDSA that NIST has produced. So it was just a wrong guess. To some degree, before August 2024, everything was guesswork, no? Like Gmail, for example, from my understanding in 2022, adopted NTRU for its post-quantum cryptography adoption, which is also lattice-based from my understanding. It's not proven to be breakable, and apparently it's been older. It's actually very old algorithm that seems to withstand the test of time. So I personally don't understand why NTRU didn't win. Do you know the reason for it, by the way?
Actually, I think N2 was actually recommended in some European countries and also in Japan, from my understanding, because they may have like a different kind of standard. For some other countries, with their own standard, they actually prefer N2. So yes, so N2 is also like you mentioned, lattice-based, and actually the first version of N2 was from 1996, which is very old. Actually, although for example, for the ones was standardized, they did some tweaks, because for the earlier one they have some vulnerabilities, but they did some tweak. Then it is fine. So yeah, N2 I think it should also be fine actually.
So it just hasn't been selected, but it's actually fine according to most standards.
It is studied by some other countries.
That's interesting. So it's just that the US hasn't selected it for some reason or another. It just sounds like they kind of prefer to go key exchange, and NTRU is asymmetric to kind of facilitate symmetric. Because from my understanding, symmetric is not vulnerable to quantum computers yet. We can just increase the key size. Okay, so I guess we can move on to to our next topic, quantum secure hardware and infrastructure, and just overall integrating post-quantum cryptography into existing system. What's exactly the issue with it? Why is it taking so long for people to not only understand that this is a problem, but why don't they already? I mean, I heard Google has been talking about it for a while. Apple has actually done some things like messages, but some infrastructure is still in the works. AWS has been talking about it for months, but they still haven't done that. They still can't select MLChem for their, say, ACM. At least as of this podcast. Maybe tomorrow it will be different, but as of this recording. Like, what's the holdup?
Because actually, For all of these kind of algorithms, their performances are quite different compared to RSA or deep curves. So first, they usually have much bigger key size and also cipher size or signature size. And the other reason is some algorithms they run probably slower compared to RSA. I think these are the main reasons. Because of this, then you may have difficulty to implement, as you mentioned, on some hardware, especially on those kind of low-powered or embedded systems.
So the problem is essentially compatibility. Like you said, bigger key sizes and slower performance. So would bigger keys, why would that be a problem? The bigger key size and the slower performance. I mean, sure, it means that maybe my iPhone will load a bit slower when I'm trying to log into a website, but isn't it like a low price to pay compared to actually being secure?
Yeah, the problem is first, because you mentioned hardware, for some of the low powered hardware, they have a pretty limited memory size, but very very limited. You can imagine in kilobytes or some kind of thing like that. But then this may become a problem. But however, I think another problem is because you need to do this if you need to use this kind of public key crypto system, you need to transmit this kind of maybe for example your public key or your ciphertext over the internet, right? And then here's the problem, because for many of these kind of communication protocols, they were designed based on the size of RSA, for example 32 bytes or something, right? Then however, now PWC, some of them will take kilobytes, right? Then whether if you put them into a existing protocol, whether they can still work nicely or not, that's a big question.
Most infrastructure is built specifically for RSA, and now they have to be rebuilt, essentially overhauled, to accept this new type of encryption that's much bigger key sizes that maybe they just didn't expect. Like the key sizes are I've seen them much bigger, like thousands of bytes, like you mentioned yourself, compared to RSA, which is more, I guess to some degree we have to do that. In order to face a stronger computer, we need bigger keys. It's kind of going to be a race, I think. Quantum computers versus bigger keys. I hope we find a way to create keys that are quantum resistant without just making them bigger. Because eventually we'll have a terabyte long key that can withstand the super quantum computer. But this is what we do for now. Basically, we increase the size, which is, like you mentioned, it's a problem. And as we discussed, compatibility has always been an issue. Like for example, with TLS, imagine now, TLS 1.1 and TLS 1.3 essentially use the same algorithm, RSA or elliptic curve. So depending on the version you use, now we're gonna, and that's already causing compatibility problems. Now we have to change to a different algorithm altogether. So the question is, what are some things that we can do about this? How can we, like we mentioned, we have potentially 5 years. For all we know, it's less, especially with Harvest Now, Decrypt Later. The more we delay, the more relevant the data that gets harvested is. Because if, for example, you harvest the data half a year before quantum computers, it's going to be a lot more relevant data than, say, 5 years. What are some potential solutions? Like, could you look into some more universally compatible services like cloud services, or do you just need to do the hard work and do the integration? Or maybe a mix of both. Like maybe you need to do one and do the other. What's your opinion?
Sure. So actually, maybe you have heard about another buzzword called hybrid system these days after the PWC standard came out. So basically, I think doing hybrid is basically one way. So for example, you may have this kind of TLS, which is pre-quantum using RSA, but then once you have built up pre-quantum safe communication channel, then you can maybe run your post-quantum algorithm within this channel. Like for example, if you have run TLS, then within this TLS channel, you can run for example ML to generate another kind of share secret between two parties. Then you can use this new secret to do your actual data communication, right? I think this is one way of doing this hybrid kind of system. So now they basically within this kind of system basically wrap PDOC into this pre-quantum communication channel. Then I think now you have like something which are both pre-quantum and post-quantum safe, right?
So basically, you're using a hybrid of quantum safe pre-quantum algorithm, and if the post-quantum is not compatible for some reason, you fall back on the pre-quantum, or am I missing the mark here?
I think what I mentioned is basically because you already have TLS, right, which is pre-quantum, right? So then first you run TLS, then you have a pre-quantum safe communication channel. Then within this pre-quantum safe communication channel, then you run your PDOC, like MLCAM, to get your post-quantum safe shard secret value. Then you use this post-quantum safe shard secret value to do your actual data communication, right? Basically, you can think like you have a PDOC quantum safe communication channel within a pre-quantum safe communication channel, right? You basically you wrap PDOC into this pre-quantum safe communication channel.
So you kind of add your own layer of PQC on top of the TLS?
Yes. This is one way to do this, I think.
I mean, that makes sense. We actually have been discussing it, how we can make it more compatible for people. Specifically, TLS, like you mentioned, is probably a bit far away from being quantum safe. So what people can do for now is create their own PQC, encrypt the data transmissions between the backend and the front end, and maybe just hide just the most important data. Like maybe they don't need to hide when someone submits their first name, but they can like say hide the password or other sensitive information like the ID image. Just basically add their own layer of quantum safe security, and then wait for the time. That kind of ties back to our why businesses need to start doing this rather than wait for TLS services. Like basically start adding your own PQC layer, and then once the other services already upgraded, then you can feel safe, I suppose. At least until the next one comes up, until the next algorithm needs to be adopted, and here we go again. Because we are kind of entering this new era. I think that's a great idea. However, most people don't even know post-quantum, like how they're supposed to even start. And then they need to learn cryptography. Most software engineers don't really know that. They let existing library handle that. And as of now, there is no real side channel resistant open source. Every open source algorithm I looked into is saying, no, we're not side channel resistant, don't use us yet. Or use us, you can use us at your own discretion. How can people start now and feel safe doing it, that they're doing it right?
Yeah, so you mentioned like side channel resistant, right? And actually, yeah, this is like a pretty big problem because there are so many different side channels, right? Like timing, cache, electromagnetic, and also like fault injection resistant. Right? There are many side channels you need to protect. That is especially important for IoT or embedded system because people can just take your physical hardware away, then they can just insert a few probes to perform this kind of attacks, right? So yes, as you mentioned, right, there are like no universal like there's no implication just basically safe against every side channel attacks for now. I think like one way to do it is maybe like for example you can consider like instead of running this kind of algorithm on your own embedded system or devices, right, you can offload this to, for example, to a cloud platform, right? Then instead of taking your physical device away, now the attacker need to, for example, hack into the server room of Amazon, right? And that's pretty much difficult, much more difficult, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they're using an overseas server, like, they need to find out the server, and we assume the server is much bigger. Like if you're talking about, for example, hosted on AWS, that's a pretty big server to look into. That makes sense. Basically, you can let you can either host your own cloud or let someone else, a cloud provider, handle the complexities and the implementation of the algorithm. It also, I guess, solves the compatibility issue, because if their computer can run that algorithm and just give you the data, and then you get the secrets, you can just use AES yourself, and AES is compatible. Like the symmetric encryption is compatible. I guess some issues pop up with the cloud. Like, for example, wouldn't it be technically less secure because traffic needs to go between the cloud service and the user? So what do you do with that?
I think that's pretty much depend on like how you actually implement this kind of communication right between the client and the server, right? So basically, I think at least what you need to do is like everything need to be like encrypted and also need to be authenticated, right? And this is like at least what you can do. And if you want to like, for example, be even safer, then for example, you don't want server to know like what is your data, right? You want to encrypt, or what is your key, right? Then you can even do like a secure multi-party communication, or use some kind of fully homomorphic encryption to do that. But yeah, that's some like more advanced techniques to give you like provide even more privacy.
Well, that makes sense. That the more security sensitive you are, the more security layer you would add if you decide to go with the cloud service. So basically, if you are a bit starting out, like you're a smaller business, and your main thing is just make me quantum secure, I trust you to handle my data correctly, everything, then it might be the best solution to just trust a cloud provider potentially. If you handle more sensitive data, or you're just more worried about it, or you're not, then there are some layers of security you can add to make both the traffic and like the cloud provider more secure, essentially. Is that right?
Yes, so basically you can add like use more advanced techniques to provide more privacy of your data, right? Yes.
And to some degree it's up to the cloud provider, like you need to make sure that they are handling your data correctly, because if they provide you with post-quantum cryptography and then they also sell you data, that kind of beats the purpose, doesn't it? So of course it makes sense to make sure that the cloud provider is reputable, or if you can host it your own cloud, that's great to solve the compatibility issue. Overall, there are ways to deal with that, but I agree that I think I might be biased, but I think cloud-based post-quantum cryptography might be the way for us to start the migration as soon as possible without dealing with the whole performance and compatibility issues. And just use it to add this extra layer of security to secure the current data, like the pre-quantum TLSs or pre-quantum end-to-end encryptions, as we upgrade and make it more local, more universal, faster, and more secure. We have been going a bit over time, but maybe we can split it into a second part. We have quite a bit of more material to go through. Before maybe we start wrapping it up, is there anything else you wanted to bring up or discuss from what we talked about today?
Yeah, a lot of content today, right? So maybe we can leave more content, more details into the next part, right?
Yes, we have been going at that for nearly 50 minutes. There is just so much to talk about, and we're not even halfway through. So, I really appreciate I really appreciate your presence here today, and for all the insights you brought. And I hope that anyone who's watching is going to find it insightful. And we're trying to fit into every audience here, but I guess to some degree we are. Here we are kind of slightly more advanced compared to other potential content. But hey, this kind of information needs to be out there. Like, we need to make sure that everyone can hear it, especially like all the CISOs and all the CTOs and all the technical people who worry about it. And all the CEOs also need to worry. Every business owner needs to worry about it. Every individual needs to worry about it and raise the awareness. So that's what we're doing here. All right, then I'm looking forward to our next part then. Maybe we can make it start of a series. It's because I was expecting to be around like halfway, but we're actually not even halfway. We have plenty of content to discuss, and of course, We're open to any more suggestions. Thank you very much, Raymond. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye.